It's Friday morning and Jane is watching Rigging Doctor learning how to make a locking Brummel splice in our 4mm line that we're going to use for the lashing as a way of getting 4 tons of tension into our chain plate loops to fully test them beyond the strength of the stainless steel wire that we used to have. So I'm going to go outside and set up the test bed while she makes this first splice so that we can put a lashing on for this specific use. While Jane is doing the splices, I'm doing the setup down here to test. So as before, we're going to have one chain plate loop attached to that part of the boat cradle there, and the other one here. But this time, instead of us being dangerously in the middle, we're going to have that 4mm line going between those two, 4 times between the two low friction rings, and then the 5th will come back here and be attached to the scale. And then this pull along is all the way over here, attached to that chain, which is embedded in that concrete filled barrel, but with our man overboard block and tackle reaching back over here to this enormous trailer that's buried in the sand, well, in the gravel. So I've got 4 thicknesses of the 2.5mm. That's approximately 1.5 tons with knot. But from the pull along here, stretched out as a single wire this time, so maximum pull 750 kilos, we will have a 4mm line going from there round the hook of the scale and back to be tied off to the come along. So that way, if this pulls 100 kilos, we should get 200 on there, because it's a 2-to-1 purchase. 200 on there multiplied by the 5-to-1 purchase of the lashing would give us a ton. So for every 100 there, we get a ton here. So therefore that needs to pull 400 kilos, which is well within each of those items. That pulls 400, that pulls 800, that pulls 5 times 800, which is 4 tons onto each of the chain plates. I've got a rope tied to the scale there and a lashing between the scale and the pull along, so if anything breaks, the scale can't go flying very far. Certainly can't reach anywhere near us at the pull along. So hopefully that makes it a safe way to get 4 tons of pull onto each of these chain plate loops. And the maths works out. I got it a bit wrong last time. Don't rely on me to remember numbers, but these chain plate loops are replacing chain plates connected to wire shrouds that were 6.5mm. They have a breaking strain. I'm going to go and look and check it up, because I'm not going to guess numbers anymore, but 4 ton is definitely more than the breaking strain of the wire that was the shrouds. So we know if we test this to 4 tons that we are stronger than what was originally holding up the mast with the shrouds. So we don't need to test it to destruction, we just need to know that whatever happens, it's stronger than what it's replacing. Okay, let's go and see how Jane's doing. So we're going to test these up to 4 tons now, our chain plate loops. So at this end we've got one end of this black line attached to the strong point there. It comes along here through the hook of the scale and back to the pull along. So the pull along here can pull, it's singled now, that can pull 750. We want to take that up to 400, which means, because this gives a 2-to-1 purchase, 400 on one black line should be 800 on the scale. 800 on one, that black line goes over here, goes 5-to-1 in here, so it gets multiplied by 5. So when we pull 800 on the scale, we're pulling 4 tons onto that chain plate loop and that chain plate loop. So let's start wrapping it up now.
Okay, we're on 20, 30, 40. Oh, it's coming up quickly. 70. Shall I tell you when it's due? Oh, it's wobbling about like crazy. It's 150. There's 200 now. Just check everything's feeding through properly.
It definitely is.
It all looks good. I should, as far as I can see. Does it feel tight there? Wow, that feels very tight. Yep.
So that should be a ton.
Which we did last time.
Yeah. So this chain and barrel are now lashed to this one and that one and back to there, so that the strain on that block and tackle is much reduced. The other end, the tail here, is now lashed directly to the trailer, so we've taken out about 8 feet, a couple of meters of slack, and we can start pulling again.
Hey.
So let's start ratcheting this up.
Oh, 60. No, it's 160. 200. 270. 300. Wow. Let's see. Maybe 300 now. 380, Dave. 400. Yay. Right. Now we're. Oh, it's moving. Everything's moving. 500. I saw. It's gone down again. Oh, it's moving a lot. 530. Let's got David stretching again. Let's see. It's actually it's going between 550 and 470 at the moment. Whoa. 600. 650 I've seen. 660. Just let it pause a minute, Dave. 680. Going down really quickly.
Just opening that up, this angle up, is just helping it slide through there a lot easier, I reckon.
Yes.
So.
Looks.
So if that's went up to 680, that's how many tons? Times 5.
Yes.
80 times 5 is 400.
Yes.
6 is
360. So somewhere between.
3.6 tons.
Yes.
Right. Okay, we're getting close. Let's put a few more on.
Gone back to 600. Okay. $700. Oh, it's gone down straight away. Touch 700. 700 again, Dave.
Yep.
It went up to 720 max. 730, 740, 50s. 750, it's going down again. 760. It's going up. 760. It's going down again. 770, 780, 770. It's gone down again. 780, no, 800. It touched 800 there, right. Just for a second. Just one click.
2.
Just do 1, see what it does. We haven't timed it, have we?
So I wonder how many of you have tested your chain plates with a 4,000 kilo 4-ton pull. But we know how they're going to work. These are the chain plate loops for our mizzen mast, which is only dinky. It's only a small mizzen mast, and we're going up a size or 2 when we buy the Dyneema and make the chain plates for the main mast. So this is 9mm Dyneema replacing 6.5mm stainless steel wire. So scale it to suit your boat. That's our best guess after reading all the literature and websites as to what is somewhat overkill for our rigging.
It's settled down now at 782.
Yeah, it's going down.
That's
much
quite
slower.
good. Yeah. Do you want to do one more ratchet? Yep, it's gone to 800. Actually went to 830 again.
And another good thing is all of this has on the black line, James done 4 eye splices. So we've got an eye splice here that's got 400 kilos on it on a 4mm line with a 1300 kilo braking strain.
Hard to see it there. There we go. That's better.
Another eye splice at the other end of this one. So that eye splice there has been taking 800. So that's the splice that's been working hardest. And you can see it tapers out gradually here. You've got the double going through here to make it a locking Mobius locking Brummel splice. So 800 out of a 1300 braking strain. No signs of damage or anything. And the last splice is cow hitched here, which isn't ideal really.
No.
But it's so we can take it apart without having to undo the splice.
It doesn't improve its strength though, so
no.
It's done very well.
That's probably the weakest part of the whole system at the moment.
Yeah.
But it's only taking 200
yeah, it's not got as much of a load on it. Still, that was good. How long have we been watching it at roughly 800 now then? We should have been timing it, Dave.
How long have you been recording?
15 minutes, I think, if it's that number in the middle of the screen.
Yeah.
Can we? Is it possible to just? Ah! Something broke. Oh, bother! What broke? Goodness knows.
I think that. No, it wasn't that splice. So it was this line.
It was the cow hitch we've just been saying. No, no, it wasn't. Something broke. Was it the cow hitch?
No, cow hitch is fine.
Oh,
so
did it actually break the line itself?
We broke the line itself. So
that was a surprise.
Where it was going through the low friction ring and rubbing against itself.
Yeah.
I guess.
Turning around a sharp corner.
And that would have been 1, 2, 3.
Is it the one that
would have been the one that had 800 kilos pulling through the low friction ring.
Yeah. Well, there you go. Still, I think we've done the job of stretching it, so it's all good.
Well, we've proved that it won't be our chain plate loops that break.
It was surprising that it wasn't the splice that broke, though.
I'll, Herbie, I'll be in touch to see how much you think we need what the tension will be like on these, but looking at Herbie's rigging on Rigging Doctor, it's never anything like as the tension that we had in this. What sort of note do you get when you twang your rigging, Herbie? What should we get? So, well, that saves me disconnecting it. It also proved that our safety feature in terms of the scale not coming flying worked. So actually that's really quite encouraging to have had a failure that nobody got hurt and did no damage.
It's quite reassuring to me. I'm the nervous partner in this. Dave just goes for it.
So we'll count today's test as a success. Our rigging is tested and stretched to 4,000 kilograms. Fantastic.
Brilliant.
So we're back in the cabin, warmed up after doing the tests outside, and we thought we'd just look at the results. So we've got our 2 chain plate loops and backing plates, and the top part of this loop looks exactly the same as it did beforehand, doesn't it?
Yes, it must be longer, but you can't tell.
No.
You didn't measure it.
So there's no damage there. As we pull them out, we've noticed that this has got some small worn areas like that bit. The discoloration was all caused by the hole saw push it when I drilled through. So one thing we've learned is that we will drill the hole saw halfway from each side to avoid any of that damage, and we know we're going to round this off so it's a lot smoother, and put a rubber pad. We're thinking of cutting up a car footwell mat, have a round circle of rubber with a small hole in it that the soft shackle goes through, so that we don't damage anything. Yes. And when you look at
flat bit.
This just here, you can see there's quite a flattened bit. Notch is very, very solid and tight.
I think it's about half the size of what it was.
Half the size?
Volume-wise.
I think could well be right. That's probably where a lot of the extra length has come from, and just a tightening up of the knot. So these are spectacular. They've
very pleased, and the backing plate performed really well as well. So
great. Yeah. So that's all brilliant. Very, very happy with those. These 2 now both tested to over 4.1 tonnes metric. So let's look at the lashings. This one first was used doubled to give the final pull between the come along and the scale. So,
and it had rings in the end.
Just in this end. So there's a splice that Jane did, and that was lashed to that big rusty trailer thing. All looks absolutely fine. And at the other end there is another eye splice that was on the hook of the come along, and that too slightly flattened and smooth on the inside of the loop, but
it all
excellent
looks
condition.
Exactly the same, really. It's a bit rounder. It was quite a flat sort of rope when I spliced it, and it's a bit rounder now from being stretched.
Yeah, there's a few places like this where it feels slightly deformed, and I think that's where it was going over around the shackle on the weight scale. But yeah,
middle, right.
No problems with that. So that's been tested to 400 because it was halved or doubled. Then we come to the actual line that broke, and this is quite a long, about 10 centimeters of damaged line there where it's broken. This is the shorter piece. This was going out of the low friction ring to the weight scale. So this had 800 kilograms pull on it, so 1300 kilogram braking strain. That loop that Jane spliced, no problems at all with that. Slightly smoothed on the inside, feels a little bit stiffer. That was on the hook of the scale. And the break happened where this went into the low friction ring.
It went back on itself, so it has quite a sharp turn.
So it was going round the low friction ring like that when it broke. And I think that the reason it broke was that this low friction ring here had a cow hitch and 3 lines, and so they were spread out a little bit and it was rubbing against the other lines, all a bit tight.
Every time we tightened it up and let go, it was going backwards and forwards through it. So
it kind of sawed through itself.
Yeah.
It's a chafe break essentially, or heat maybe, in that low friction ring. So that's that end, that's got the most damage, and the longer bit we can see this was going to and fro.
Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed it, give us a thumbs up.